Somewhere along the way, we started treating rest like failure and urgency like success. Who taught us that the sun ain't running, and neither should I? Every season got a reason, every answer got a time. I spent years chasing tomorrow like it owed me something new. Then I learned life blooms different for everybody passing through. I used to measure progress by calendars and comparisons, watching strangers win online while questioning my own direction. Bad habit, comparison is a magician, makes blessings disappear by shifting attention. I was rushing through chapters, trying to arrive at conclusions before the story finished introducing characters. Meanwhile, life kept offering lessons I was too impatient to recognize, because ambition speaks loudly, but wisdom often whispers. The sun ain't running, and neither should I. Every season got a reason, every answer got a time. I spent years chasing tomorrow like it owed me something new. Then I learned life blooms different for everybody passing through. My grandmother used to sit quietly shelling peas on the porch like she knew something the rest of us were too busy to hear. Never rushed, never panicked, never acted like destiny needed a reminder call. She understood timing, the kind that can't be forced, the kind that arrives when preparation finally meets opportunity at the same address. Now I think about that often, especially when anxiety starts drafting plans for problems that haven't happened yet. Maybe what's meant for me isn't behind me, maybe it is in the head, maybe it's walking beside me, waiting for me to notice. The world profits from your hurry, peace profits from your presence. Choose carefully. The sun ain't running, and neither should I. Every mountain has a pathway, every prayer has a reply. I don't need to outrun anybody to become who I was designed to be. The right life at the wrong pace still isn't freedom to me. Take your time, not because you're behind, because you're alive, and that's a different thing. The flowers don't apologize for blooming in their own season, neither should you. Everybody says just be friends, like emotions got an off switch, like memories suddenly become roommates. We got too much history for small talk, too many late nights living in these walls. I can't call you casual after everything we called us. Maybe distance is the kindest thing. Two hearts can choose right now, because pretending feels impossible, and honesty won't let me lie. You text like nothing happened, like the earth didn't shift, like I didn't spend months rearranging my future around your presence. That's the difficult part, not losing you, adjusting to the version of you that exists afterward. People think friendship is always the mature answer. Sometimes the mature answer is admitting your heart hasn't changed addresses yet. Mine hadn't, not then, not honestly. We got too much history for small talk, too many late nights living in these walls. I can't call you casual after everything we called us. Maybe distance is the kindest thing. Two hearts can choose right now, because pretending feels impossible, and honesty won't let me. I try, believe me, I rehearse normal conversations, practice neutral responses, attempted to fit our story into a smaller container. But every interaction carry echoes, every joke remember context, every silence remember meaning. Some relationships leave fingerprints on your entire emotional architecture. You don't erase those overnight, you learn to respect them. That's different. I don't hate you, I don't regret searching for what isn't mine anymore. Healing requires honesty, and the truth is, I can't become your friend while I'm still grieving the version of us I hope would survive. We got too much history for small talk, too many chapters to reduce to how have you been. Maybe one day the ache gets quieter, maybe one day the memories soften. But today the healthiest thing I can offer is distance. Not because I care too little, because I care too much. Some people leave your life completely, some stay, and some become a lesson in time, and a beautiful chapter, a necessary goodbye, and a memory you finally stop chasing. Everybody got advice until life hands them a story they never had to survive. You don't carry this memory, you don't wake up where I wake. You don't know the conversations a wounded heart and silence make. So be careful judging battles you were never asked to fight. Some roads only reveal themselves to the people walking them at night. They said, just move forward, like grief follows instructions, like trauma packs a suitcase. The moment motivation enters the room, they meant well. Most people do, but understanding and observation ain't the same occupation. You see a woman smiling, I see the months it took to rebuild that smile. The negotiations with fear, the private victories nobody photographed. The mornings where getting dressed was the accomplishment and nobody knew, because survival rarely announces itself. You don't carry this memory, you don't wake up where I wake. You don't know the conversations a wounded heart and silence make. So be careful judging battles you were never asked to fight. Some roads only reveal themselves to the people walking them at night. Pain changes language, changes posture, changes trust, changes time, and changes how you enter rooms and who you allow to stay there long enough to know your real name. I've watched people mistake healing for weakness, mistake caution for distance, mistake resilience for being unaffected. That's the thing about survival. The strongest people often become experts at making heavy things look light. Compassion begins where assumptions end, and understanding starts when listening wins. I don't need pity, I don't need rescuing. I need people to understand that every visible person has an invisible story, and some stories changed everything. You don't carry this memory, you don't know what it required to gather broken pieces and rebuild something inspired. So before you judge the journey or question why someone changed, remember some experiences rearrange a person's frame. Not every wound leaves evidence, not every victory gets applause, not every survivor tells the whole story. But trust me, if you had walked that road, you'd understand why they're different now. The hardest part wasn't losing you, the hardest part was realizing I never lost who I thought you were. That person never existed. You left the lights on, like you planned on coming back. Left the door halfway open while already unpacking somewhere else. And that's what hurt the most, not the goodbye, the performance before it. The way you made uncertainty look like hope, yeah. See, betrayal rarely arrives wearing a villain's face. It shows up polite, careful, reasonable, still answering texts, still making plans, still saying I love you, while emotionally moving furniture into another address. That's the part nobody talks about, the transition period, when your intuition starts collecting evidence. Your heart refuses to file. I kept explaining away red flags like a defense attorney working overtime for a client already convicted. You left the lights on, like you planned on coming back. Left the door halfway open while already unpacking somewhere else. And that's what hurt the most, not the goodbye, the performance before it. The way you made uncertainty look like hope. I wasn't naive, I was invested. There's a difference. People confuse trust with weakness until somebody breaks it. Then suddenly everyone becomes an expert. But trust is a beautiful thing. The real problem is what happens when it's placed in careless hands. I know now that honesty has a timing, and delayed truth still creates damage. Maybe not the same damage as a lie, but damage nonetheless. You owed me clarity, not perfection. You owed me honesty, not forever. I can survive disappointment, I've done it before. What I struggle with is watching someone rewrite history to avoid accountability. You left the lights on, but I finally turned them off. Stopped waiting in doorways for answers that weren't coming. And somewhere between heartbreak and acceptance, I found something valuable, myself. Funny thing about betrayal, it introduces you to the strongest version of yourself. Eventually, not immediately, but eventually. And that version of me, she's not waiting anymore. The heart and the mind, been arguing for centuries. Mine just happened to pick a very inconvenient case. I knew better anyway. Saw every warning sign displayed, still found myself standing there, like curiosity and hope had teamed up again. I knew better anyway, but knowing and choosing ain't the same. Sometimes wisdom sits in the passenger seat, while desire grabs the steering wheel. Yeah, you arrive carrying charm like a well-tailored alibi. Too polished to trust completely, too interesting to ignore. That's a dangerous combination. I noticed the inconsistencies early, the disappearing acts, the selective honesty, the talent for making accountability feel like a scheduling conflict. My intuition submitted reports weekly. My heart kept losing the paperwork. See, attraction can be persuasive, especially when loneliness volunteers as co-counsel. I knew better anyway. Saw every warning sign displayed, still found myself standing there, like curiosity and hope had teamed up again. I knew better anyway, but knowing and choosing ain't the same. Sometimes wisdom sits in the passenger seat, while desire grabs the steering wheel. The funny thing is, you didn't fool me, not completely. I saw the pattern, I just underestimated its impact. That's different. People think heartbreak begins when someone leaves. Sometimes heartbreak begins the moment you realize they were exactly who they showed you they were, and you stayed anyway. Now that's a difficult conversation to have with yourself, but growth lies there in the uncomfortable honesty, in the reflection, in the accountability. I forgive the woman who wanted to believe she was searching for love, not a lesson. Turns out, discernment isn't about never making mistakes. It's about recognizing them sooner. The next time I knew better anyway, and now I know myself better too. Every disappointment left direction, every wrong turn improved the view. I knew better anyway, but wisdom finally caught up with my heart. And this time they're leaving together. No bitterness, no revenge, no dramatic ending, just understanding. And honestly, that's worth more than a fantasy ever was. For a long time, I thought healing meant forgetting. Turns out, healing meant surviving without becoming bitter. I sent your name upward, not because you deserved it, but because I was tired of carrying the weight of it. I set the hurt down gently and let heaven sort it through. The greatest freedom I ever found was finally releasing you. Yeah. There was a season when anger rented space in my chest, paid no bills, contributed nothing, yet somehow occupied every room. I replayed conversations like courtroom evidence, searching for justice in memories that couldn't testify. Meanwhile, life kept moving, sunrises kept arriving, and I was standing still, guarding old wounds like they were family heirlooms. That's when I realized pain can become an identity if you don't challenge the least. Not because you deserved it, but because I was tired of carrying the weight of it. I set the hurt down gently and let heaven sort it through. The greatest freedom I ever found was finally releasing you. Yeah. Forgiveness gets misunderstood. People think it means approval. It doesn't. It means refusing to let somebody else's actions own real estate in your future. I know women who rebuilt entire lives from emotional rubble. Women who learned that closure isn't always delivered. Sometimes it's constructed brick by brick, boundary by boundary, prayer by prayer, and that's sacred work. I stopped asking why it happened and started asking who I wanted to become afterward. That question changed everything, because survival was never the finish line. Transformation was final. I sent your name upward and watched my spirit breathe again. The storm finally loosened its grip against my skin. I can't rewrite the chapters or erase what I've been through, but I can choose the woman who steps forward when they're through. I wish healing on me. I wish healing on you. I wish peace on every heart, still carrying what it should have released. And tonight I'm finally lighting up. For a long time, I thought loneliness was something that happened to me. Turns out, it was something trying to teach me in the quiet. Been having conversations lately, long after everybody leaves, and the city sleeping peacefully. Me in the quiet, learning things I couldn't hear before. Sometimes solitude ain't punishment, sometimes it's an open door. I used to fill every empty space with noise, phone calls, background music, busy schedules, anything to avoid sitting still long enough to hear myself thinking. See, silence can feel intimidating when you spent years outrunning questions, but eventually the distractions clock out, and there you are, face to face with yourself. No audience, no performance, no escape route, just truth. Me in the quiet. Been having conversations lately, long after everybody leaves, and the city sleeping peacefully. Me in the quiet, learning things I couldn't hear before. Sometimes solitude ain't punishment, sometimes it's an open door.
Yeah, the quiet taught me which dreams belong to me and which ones I inherited from expectations. It taught me how many decisions I made, trying to avoid disappointment instead of pursuing fulfillment. It introduced me to strengths I didn't know existed, the kind that don't show up until nobody's coming to rescue you. That's valuable information. Loneliness gets a bad reputation. Sometimes it's just independence arriving before confidence catches up. I stopped fighting the silence and started listening. That's when everything changed. The loudest growth of my life happened quietly. Nobody clapped, nobody noticed, but everything transformed. Me and the quiet got a different relationship now. It's no longer something I fear. It's where I hear myself clearly. Me and the quiet built a friendship over time, and somewhere inside that stillness I finally found mine. The room didn't get louder, the world didn't get easier, the loneliness didn't disappear. I just learned how to stop calling it loneliness and start calling it peace. I don't visit often anymore, but every now and then a memory opens its doors, and there you are. Welcome to the museum of us, where old moments still collect dust. Every room tells a different story of who we were before the silence caught us. I don't live here anymore, but sometimes my heart still shows up at the museum of us. Yeah, first room on the left, got the night we stayed awake till sunrise, turning impossible dreams into detailed blueprints, like two architects designing a future neither of us had seen yet. Further down the hallway, there's a collection of laughter, the kind that arrived without warning and stayed longer than expected. Still one of my favorite exhibits, if I'm being honest. Funny how memory preserves emotions better than photographs preserve faces. Welcome to the museum of us, where old moments still collect dust. Every room tells a different story of who we were before the silence caught us. I don't live here anymore, but sometimes my heart still shows up at the museum of us. Yeah. There's a section I avoided for years, the room with unfinished conversations, missed time and misread intentions, the fragile artifacts handled with care, not because they still hurt, because they once mattered. That's growth, being able to revisit history without needing to move back in. See, people think healing means demolition. Sometimes healing means preservation, keeping the lesson, releasing the longing, understanding the difference. I don't need the past returned, I just honor what it taught me. Some chapters deserve gratitude, even when they don't become forever. And somewhere between acceptance and remembrance, I stopped asking why it ended and started appreciating that it happened. Welcome to the museum of us, where love still hangs in quiet frames. Every memory has its place, every season has its name. I don't visit every day, but when I do, I smile more than I cry at the museum of us. No bitterness, no rewriting history, no pretending it meant less than it did. Just respect,
for a story that shaped me, and a love important enough to deserve its own museum.
Lately, I've been spending a lot of time with the one person who knows every version of me.
The conversation in the mirror gets honest after midnight. No applause, no distractions, no rehearsed replies, just me and my reflection, sorting through what matters now, trying to become the woman I promised I'd make proud. I ask myself difficult questions, the kind nobody else can answer, like, why do I doubt myself after surviving things I once thought would break me? Why do I celebrate milestones briefly, then immediately move the finish line? Why is self-compassion always the last item on my to-do list? The mirror doesn't judge, it just waits patiently for honesty. The conversation in the mirror gets honest after midnight. No applause, no distractions, no rehearsed replies, just me and my reflection, sorting through what matters now, trying to become the woman I promised I'd make proud. Sometimes the mirror reminds me how far I've traveled, because growth happens gradually like sunrise. You don't notice it immediately, then suddenly the whole landscape looks different. I spent years becoming someone my younger self would have admired. Not perfect, not finished, but resilient, wise enough to apologize, strong enough to change, and brave enough to keep evolving. That's worth something.
I stopped looking for answers everywhere else and started listening inward.
The loudest guidance in my life usually arrives quietly, not from crowds, not from headlines, from reflection. The conversation in the mirror keeps teaching me new things. Every scar got context, every lesson got wings, and every day I understand a little more somehow. The woman I was becoming is standing here right now.
Some people spend their whole lives trying to make themselves. I'm finally getting acquainted, and honestly, she's pretty, incredible. Nobody hands you a finished story. Most of life is learning how to write while the ink is still wet.
The next page is blank, and that's the beautiful part. No prediction owns tomorrow, no mistake owns my heart. I got room to become everything I couldn't see. The next page is blank, and it's waiting on me.
I used to think certainty was the goal, a detailed map, a guaranteed outcome, a future already wrapped and labeled. Turns out life doesn't work retail, it works improvisation. Half the opportunities that changed me arrived wearing unfamiliar clothes. The friendship, the city, the career, the lesson, none of them match my original blueprint. Good thing my imagination was too small anyway. The next page is blank, and that's the beautiful part. No prediction owns tomorrow, no mistake owns my heart. I got room to become everything I couldn't see. The next page is blank, and it's waiting on me. People get nervous around uncertainty. I understand the unknown doesn't offer guarantees, but it does offer possibilities. And possibility changed my life more than certainty ever did. Every major blessing started as a question mark, a risk, a conversation, a decision made before confidence arrived. That's the secret nobody tells you. Courage usually shows up after the first step, not before.
I don't need all the answers to I just need enough faith to keep moving.
The future isn't hiding from me, it's unfolding. There's a difference.
The next page is blank, and that's the beautiful part. I can leave all limitations exactly where they are. I got room to evolve, room to dream differently. The next page is blank, and it's waiting on me.
No final draft, no perfect version, no finished masterpiece. Just a woman, still becoming. And honestly, that's my favorite chapter so far.